the American dream is dead. But if I get elected president, I will bring it back bigger and better and stronger than ever before, and we will make America great again. Thank you. Thank you very much.
2016, year of the snake. Time for a change in the White House, y'all. Bring it. If you want the real deal, then you gotta get a real leader. Want a real leader, then we need a real man. Build a wall, deal with all them terrorists. America needs a man that can. If you wanna feel safe in your own backyard, one choice, you gotta play your trump card. I say Trump, you say hell high. When I say Trump, you say hell high. Make America great again. Make America, make America great again. Make America, make America great again. Time to make America great again.
I gotta remember to go over to Twitter and get rid of some of you guys. I'll write it on a list. It's just tedious. It's tedious is what it is. Son. It's let's go, Marita. Good to see you. Click the share button if you get the chance, folks. As we always do. Samey sames, samey sames, samey sames. Yeah. Yes, the Rooney Dooney.
Having the right to bear arms, protect your family. What about the ability to work a job, have jobs available to work? You know who we need? This name starts with a D and ends with a Trump.
Maybe I can do it this way. Maybe I don't have to write it down. Maybe if I go over here, I am. Excellent. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the show. You're watching the one and only Trump Talk US live in DC with Suzzanne Monk. I am Suzzanne Monk. We are 8 minutes away from our nation's capital. We are about 15 minutes away from the White House, where there have been regular protests. I feel like this is going to take a lot, but we're going to do that. Let's see if that solves the problem. That might solve the problem. I don't know what I'm thinking, Marita. It certainly is absolutely ridiculous. And so we're going to talk about DC. We're going to, of course, want to say hello, Christina. Chris McDonald will be popping in the room in just a minute. We want to, of course, remind you to go to reopenamerica.org. We're going to be talking about a lot of these issues, including the 4th of July, there on reopenamerica.org. How's it going, Nick? How's it going, Erica? But you can also go to our page on Facebook by going to reopenamerica.info. That takes you right to our Facebook page. We share a lot of good articles over there. I've been really busy actually in the streets. So I'm going to tell you what I've been busy doing. Unfortunately, with all of these protests, there's been a lot going on in the city. And so I think it's kind of taken a toll on the city. It's kind of taken a toll on the ability to open at all. In fact, many businesses are actually having the problem of having to board up their business when in fact they could be having outside tables. For example, we'll see if that works. For example, Harry's, which we all know and we all love and we all go to, they boarded up, they put all their tables away during the protest. I don't know when or if he has put that back out, because I know John Boyle actually has he knows what's coming over the weekend, so he's going to be very safe. And certainly I don't blame him, but it's an unfortunate situation that now that people are able to open, we see people actually be able to not be open. is what I'm really trying to say, to not be open. So let me just go over here to Periscope. Let's see if I even have Periscope on them. I do. Oh, this might help me. Let's see about this. Actually, no, I want to cancel that. So give me just a quick second, folks. I'm gonna solve one of my problems. Let's see if I can do that. Yes, got it. And then what we're going to do over here, this might be great. See, this is going to help me a lot. So we're going to be able to go in here. Oh, look, I'm talking to myself. That's great. And solve myself a little problem over here, which has been annoying the crap out of me. This is just so you'll just have to bear with me, folks. I know it's tedious to watch me do this, but if you just give me a second, I should be able to. Well, we'll work on it as we go. So here is what was going on in DC. Now we have tons of graffiti. We have a shit ton of graffiti going on in DC. We have a shit ton of damage, fires where I can show you some pictures. In fact, I wonder if I can pull those up. No, what I'm trying to do is, let's see. Sorry, folks. It's inexplicable. It's inexplicable what I'm going through. It's inexplicable right now. Inexplicable. I don't understand it, and I can't explain it. So we're just going to assume people are, and we'll move on from there. So what we're seeing is a lot of graffiti. Let's see if I can even show you some of the pictures of my phone here. As some of the damage that we have seen in the city. That's probably the best start. So let's see if you can see no, see, it's not going to let you see the It's not going to let you see the screen. Unfortunately, I'd have to pull it up on the other screen, and I don't have the time to do that. So, Treasury Building, World War II Memorial, Lincoln Memorial, all of the buildings on downtown, right around the White House, Freedom Plaza, all of these areas graffitied, areas where they burned out the outdoor umbrellas, they burned cars. There's a whole, trees that have been burned. Many of the garbage cans have fire in the various bottoms of the garbage, where you can see that there was a fire earlier. They broke off pieces of the granite curb to throw at officers. A lot of damage downtown, and suspected that if you're going to put 1 million people in the city over the weekend, you're probably going to get some more damage. So what we see with the mayor right now is a huge fight between the president, who is trying to keep the city safe, and the mayor, who is trying to play typical Democrat politics and is willing to put the lives of DC residents at risk in order to do that. So we see now, and I'll tell you about her painting she did in just a minute, but I just want to talk about, first off, the military conflict. So the president has brought in many members of the National Guard from across the country. He has mobilized them to come into DC. What are you talking about? I'm sorry. What are you talking about? This is the stupidest thing ever. Damage only cost around $6,000. Not too bad. Where are you even talking about that? There's millions of dollars of damage downtown. Millions of dollars of damage downtown. Dollars of damage. Windows, burnt out equipment, burnt out areas, tons. Mike, I appreciate that, but if I don't believe you. One, I don't believe you. You see, this is. I think you're a troll, and I'm going to put this. You say you're a DC cop, okay? Where? What precinct are you in? And where are you telling me that there is $6,000 worth of damage downtown when massive amounts of windows have been busted out? The whole front of the Sofitel. Obviously, there's been fires inside, fires outside, several cars torched. Those are not $6,000. Just the graffiti cleanup alone is going to cost you thousands of dollars, not to mention the businesses. Now, what do you think you're talking about? See, you guys can't play this little game with me where you just say your stuff online and I'm supposed to believe you, and I'm supposed to tell everybody else I believe you. See, and that's not going to happen. That's not going to happen here. That's not going to happen anywhere. What's going to happen is I'm just going to basically ignore you. But for the moment, I thought I'd bring up how fake you are, and just to show you to what lengths these people will go. They've been fake nurses. They've been now fake cops. Throughout the whole COVID thing, we're fake doctors, and not buying it, dude. Not buying it. I show you, this is what I deal with. This is the craziness I deal with. You know why? Because I'm actually trying to tell you guys the truth about what's going on in DC. And every time I've done that, Facebook has tried to shut down my feed or slow down my feed, or they send a ton of trolls. In fact, I almost had just figure out if I could just turn off. Maybe I can. Let's see if I could just do this. Or just, I wonder if I could just, well, I can. Wonder if I could, I don't know if I could just remove the comments from that. Maybe. I'm trying to just make certain comments go away and seeing, having to not see them because I don't really need to listen to what they're talking about because they're just saying stupid shit that doesn't mean anything. And it just gets in the way of actual conversations that people are actually trying to have. So it's just dumb. And we could actually just do this. We could just remove that. Yeah. Oh, how about we do that? Bye. Okay. So I just decided to not play with the Periscope trolls today. We just shut them off. And we'll go back to everybody. Lee has it better, much better. Marita, everybody, wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. Good to talk to you. Okay. So we have millions of dollars worth of damage. Whatever the trolls say are lies. You can see the trolls that I'm actually dealing with because they are, there's a coordinated effort right now here in DC by the left, by the Democrats who are working with the left to cause as much chaos and damage and fear in the American people as possible. So it's vital that I tell you what's going on. It's vital that I give you the real information so that you know how to be calm and you know how to handle yourself, what to tell other people so that they can be calm, so that we can all get through this crazy situation without too much undue stress or acting inappropriately. And so that's why I'm trying to keep you informed of the situation. So yes, there's a lot of damage. I was down at the protests twice. I've been down at the protests now during the day by myself, very calm, still chanting, still everybody's, angry about Black Lives Mattering or not mattering enough or whatever everybody's mad about. There are various things. Some people are mad about gender. Some people are mad about gay rights, but it's kind of like Black Lives Matter is just an excuse for everybody to come out with their various issue. And even I saw conversations in the crowd of Black people who were kind of like that. They were like, it's everybody just bringing their stupid issue. And I'm like, well, I didn't say anything, but I'm thinking to myself, that's not surprising. It's not surprising at all. Because what you've brought together is a bunch of people, leftists, who all have a progressive agenda, and that progressive agenda is one-upmanship on victimhood. And the only way you can be included in that little progressive club is victimhood. How's it going, Chris? Good to see you. Karen, good to see you. Good to see you. So, of course, they bring all their other issues, but it's very interesting. People were very nice if they didn't know you were a Trump supporter. I'm pretty sure if I wore this hat, they would not be nice. There would be nothing nice at all. But because I went in plain clothing, I did not demonstrate in any way that I was a Trump supporter openly. No, you can't, Marita. You got to walk in there. You got to walk in there incognito. Everyone was very nice. They made sure I had sunscreen. So even though we were at a Black Lives Matter rally, white skin still did matter because the white girls did bring sunscreen and were happy to share it with me. That was very nice of them. They had water. They had, in fact, very coordinated services and networks operating the event. Okay. It is not just an organic gathering of people who have just magically showed up. It is not that. There are specific medics, people who are there to operate as medics. Now, I understand when you have a hot day, why you might need a medic, but why would you need a medic otherwise if you're at a peaceful protest? And many medics, there are many medics, and they come in usually pairs of twos. They have little taped crisscrosses on their shoulder. They get their little packs with them. They might come around and ask you some of them have signs, medic, if you need gloves, mask, water, medical care, first aid. Those are the people you're supposed to go to. They even at one point on H Street, which is right there at the front, at the top of Lafayette Park, where all the action has happened, where they have the big nice fence put up now because idiots have ruined everything and made it impossible for us even to go into Lafayette Park because of their violence. Right there on the corner of H and Vermont, there was in that little, it's a diagonal street. H Street goes off it as a diagonal street called Vermont that goes up to I Street north. And you see they had put the little poster of the medical cross. So they literally had a medic center that they had set up. Very organized, very organized. You have the medics. You have stands regularly and places where there's water, plenty of packages and packages of water. We thought we had a lot of water when we went up to Baltimore with Scott Pressler and did the cleanup there. We had tons of, we got several cases of water donated. What's going on down there with these protests? Far greater than that. Water, literally, trust me, these protesters are not dehydrated I can tell you that for free, and they are very willing to give you water. So and luckily they're all brand new and sealed, so you can trust that you can probably drink that water, even though you're there in the middle of it all. It's a little much. So you have to think of these things. You have to think, is somebody going to target me in some way like that? And that's always something to be careful, but everybody was reasonably nice as long as they don't know if you are a Trump supporter. So there are also scouts. There are scouts. So once I went down to the protest to meet Will Johnson and Ben Burkham. As many of you have seen the videos, I've shared them on my page. And I went down to basically run security, run assistance, because the two of them were there recording, doing some journalism, talking to folks, interviewing folks. And they just had each other. And, both of them, they're live stream like this. And I can't have anybody Andy Ingood because they weren't paying attention to what happened behind their back. So I went down to make sure I ran security. Valerie, how's it going? Yeah, I don't think that Paul, I don't know. That sounds a little much. I'm going to tell you the situation, what's going on down there and how secure it really is. And what you're saying is insane. Absolutely. I don't even know what to even respond to it, because it doesn't even make sense entirely what you're suggesting they're trying to say. So now, Rudy, here's what I'm going to say. So there are scouts. There's scout. Yeah, Will did a great job. So I went down to secure them and just watch their back, make sure that they had eyes on the ground at all times, because that's what you have to do. So you constantly watching, constantly keeping an eye, and you see a lot of different things. You watch as well as they watch. And of course, in addition to your medics, you have your scouts. They're often on bikes. They're not always on bikes, but they're often on bikes. More often than not, they are on bikes. And they might come just to stop. They might just stop and listen to you. Just to hear what kind of journalist you are, what you're saying to people. It's kind of creepy, actually, because they'll just stop, and you can tell that they're listening, that they're trying to listen in on your conversation, but not participating, not actually having a conversation with you, asking questions about you. They're just listening and trying to get. So sometimes you then run interference with that. You talk to them. Hey, blah, blah, blah. So that you make it impossible for them to hear whatever the conversation is, and it annoys them enough, and then they leave. That often happens. So, but you can see many scouts. Some of them obviously informational scouts. Some of them obviously. Now you do see a lot of folks, not a lot of folks, but you do see a category of folk that is dressed all in black. They have full masks, this much, very little eyes, and they are decked out, with belts of, utility belts, weird stuff they have on them. They look ready for battle. They look ready for battle. I got to be honest with you. These are the folks that you expect in the night get violent. Now, in other cities, as well as DC, we've had some problems with people leaving bricks. Now, I haven't seen any pallets of bricks in DC. I've seen pallets of bricks in many other cities, left in many other cities in rioting areas, mysteriously. So these bricks are then used. We do see, we do see, of course, accelerants. There were obviously fireworks used here in DC, explosives. So those explosives certainly happen to be put in. Brought in someplace, and often, they smuggled in advance. We had reports of things, including pipe bombs, potentially in the city. Now, I didn't see that. I didn't see any evidence of that other than some reports that might be the case. So maybe that happened. Maybe they didn't want us to know that really happened. So, yeah, I'm sorry, Barbara. So, that's the situation. There are obviously those who are there to treat medical concerns. There are those who are there to keep an eye to make sure that you are on message. There are those that are there to operate the show, which is the protest. The protest is the show. Okay. The people yelling, the people chanting, the people speaking their little emotional speeches about various whoever's mother, cousin, or uncle was affected by police brutality or whatever, or sexism or whatever they're mad at, which sometimes it doesn't even have anything to do with the protest, which is kind of funny. But those people are actually putting on entertainment. Those people are actually putting on some kind of focal point so that you have a reason to be. Why are you there? Because you're not really there. You can't just go down to downtown DC and go, I'm going to cause violence. I'm going to burn things. I'm going to leave things. I'm going to break things. No one's going to let you get away with that. But because Antifa has linked together with Black Lives Matter in a coordinated fashion, they're working together. Okay. You have to understand the Black Lives Matter organization is an anarchist organization. They openly call for the ending, the disbanding of police. They openly call for that. That's their platform. So, there are folks who use the phrase Black Lives Matter that aren't involved in Black Lives Matter. Just like there's people who say they're libertarian, but they're not part of the Libertarian Party because the Libertarian Party is a worthless, useless political organization that has never helped anybody get elected for anything reasonable in all of its history of time. Libertarian L is an ideology. Okay, so the same thing we see with Black Lives Matter. Black Lives Matter, the organization, has a communist ideology. It is trying to bring down society, create anarchy here in the United States, remove police from power, disband the organizations, abolish the police. Abolish the police is their position. So they don't want any police. Now, that's not a possible situation that we as citizens can live with. That is civil unrest forever. That's what we're seeing now forever. We're not going to live like that. Obviously, we have law enforcement for a reason. That reason is so that you and I individually do not have to protect all of our own stuff and our family with firearms or other weapons on a regular basis. Okay? We have a legal system by which laws are made. People who violate those laws, we can contact law enforcement. Like we've had sheriffs since long ago. We call the sheriff. Okay, we call the police officers and they come and take care of the problem. Sometimes after the fact, they have to find out who did it. They have to go find the perpetrator. We do, of course, need to continue to be able to defend ourselves, but we shouldn't have to defend ourselves in every way. In other words, if a guy comes to steal my stuff, he should get arrested and then go to jail because he tried to steal my stuff. But if there is no jail and there are no cops to arrest him, he's going to come and try to steal my stuff, and then I have to shoot at him, and he just will come back tomorrow and steal my stuff again. So we have to do this over and over until he either gets shot or stops stealing my stuff, right? This is the problem. This is what anarchy produces. It produces a violent system that is unsustainable. And people will form law and order on their own. And, it's funny because they said, we're going to form law and order from community organizers. Well, we already have law and order. We actually already have cops. We have police officers. We have law enforcement officers. We have sheriffs. We elect the sheriffs. Now, part of the problem in the inner city is that you aren't electing these officers. You don't have a lot of control over who these officers are. You don't have a lot of control over their leadership. The mayor usually picks and chooses who the police superintendent is. So you, the people, do not have control over your law enforcement in the cities. Metropolitan police departments are run by the city itself. And so without that ability to vote your law enforcement officer out of office, you can't really protect yourself from their misdeeds without some sort of legal action. And unfortunately, we have police unions that prevent a lot of that legal action. So, here's the things that we should be talking about in this situation. We should be talking about what are the causes. If you're concerned about police brutality, what are the causes? What are keeping those things in place? What are the issues that are happening in the police departments that can be rectified, that we know the problem. For example, we know the unions are certainly looking after bad cops and protecting bad law enforcement officers. Okay. They fund their defenses, etc. We know that's happening. We do know they move bad officers around. They've done that in the past. We've seen that in the past. So we do have some of that information. We do see that the commissioner and other law enforcement officials in the city, in urban areas, not sheriffs, but in the urban areas, we do see that those individuals are often picked on a political basis and thus have all of the political baggage that their overseers do, that the mayor or the folks that are above them that they answer to do. They have the same biases often. Obviously, you're not going to pick a Republican chief of police if you're a raging Democrat mayor, right? So you're going to have that same political ideology because the mayor is choosing those people. It's a political position. It's a political, rather than something voted on by the people. It's a political position. And so it becomes problematic in that way, that the people don't have say over that. The unions add to that. Before you know it, we do have an issue with people having a redress of cops that aren't good. It's hard for folks to get that information to the police. So these cops are bad. You can report. It's a struggle. Now, obviously, when an officer commits some sort of action, we have a different situation. But here's the reality. We have Keith Ellison up in Minnesota who has already overcharged. By overcharged, I mean, and this happens in a lot of cases. It's happened in the Eric Garner case. It happened of Freddie Gray. It happens again and again. They overcharge the individuals and they don't maintain the lower charges. Okay. They don't change the lower charges. So what happens is, well, Paul here, this is it. Paul says this. We elect our police chief. We still have the same problems. Then you're not doing a very good job electing. You should pick better people. You should get someone else to run to do the job. That's the whole point of the election. The whole point of the election is to make a difference. And if you're not making a difference, you need to pick somebody different. You need to pick the other party. You need to pick another, go the other direction. Pick somebody outside of the box. So now the thing this is where was I at when I was, it's the same tactics we see across the country. You're absolutely right. I will check that, Kelly. I will. All of these have been set up. Listen, the whole thing from the beginning is all a coordinated effort, is what I've been saying. Now, as far as the case we have, I don't even want to talk about the actual George Floyd case. I'm talking in general when we see these cases. Now, Keith Ellison, that's where we were at. Keith Ellison has overcharged these individuals. In other words, he is seeking a second-degree murder charge. Well, they're not going to get that charge, you guys. They're not. If you look at the requirements, what you have to prove to get second-degree murder, it's not there. The third-degree murder charge, maybe, but the second-degree murder charge is going to be next to impossible, and the Democrats set this up every single time. The reason I'm telling you this is because we have more coming down the pipe, and we have to pay attention. The Democrats set this up every single time. Eric Gardner, Freddie Gray, what was it, Chris Brown or whatever. I try to keep track of all of their stupid names so that we can remember them. So we keep talking about, they pick really bad people to be, it seems amazing how quickly the Democrat narrative falls apart. It's almost like they're trying to mock us with the fact that they want us to mourn and celebrate individuals who have criminal past, violent past, have done horrible things, and we're supposed to kiss their ass and be so sad. It's almost like they're choosing on purpose this particular type of individual who now is glorified, but for no reason, because they lived a life that was not very gloryful, right? Criminal activity. If you watch Candace Owens' recent video, we see obviously some real ridiculous and horrible behavior coming out of George Floyd from his past, from his criminal past. And so we get into this constant debate. Of course, they always say, well, that he doesn't deserve to die. Well, guess what? Accidentally dying by cop isn't deserving to die or not. It's accidentally dying by cop, which is why you're not going to get second degree. Because in order for it to be second degree, there had to be some level of intent. And that intent would have had to have happened at least there in the moment. And that's just not the case. Even with the video we're seeing, it's just not the case. Even if none of that, I mean, assuming, of course, any of it's true, we can't even be sure at this point. There's some real questions about the individuals involved. Real creepy stuff. But we have Keith Ellison setting up the next step. And that's what I'm trying to say. Whatever actually happened or didn't happen, not relevant, because they've made the charges and they have set up a charge that is bigger than they can prove in court. So what will happen in, September, October, right around the election time, probably what will happen is the cops will get off. Oh, the cops will get off. Everyone will freak out again. They'll cause chaos for the election. That's what they're going to try to do. I don't know how to stop that. Now, other than right now, we have to start getting informed. We have to start pushing back. We have to start letting people know some of this real information. We have to get our country back. We have to get our city back to work. We have to focus on the issues. That we have to not let this distraction happen. So I think some of it is just getting back to focus. We're going to do our Reopen DC rally. Probably it looked like in the middle of a protest. And not in the middle, because they don't really come to Freedom Plaza. But we'll see. We'll see what happens. That we plan to be there, and who knows what they will plan. Now, things I don't think that will happen are the second wave, because the end of this virus, the virus is really worn off. Have you noticed? People are not noticing the virus. There's very few people getting sick of the virus. They have nothing. And I think that's why we're seeing these riots right now. I think that's why we're seeing this coordination by Black Lives Matter to use this particular case, in coordination with Antifa and other leftist organizations, George Soros, Open Society, et cetera. These general leftist affiliates are working together now because the virus really was not doing its job anymore. It just wasn't creating the sickness that they needed to keep us all suppressed. So they had to move into doing this. They had to move into this next phase. It was interestingly timed right around primaries, but of course, many primaries are at different times. So not really, not really. And we'll see, of course, it was timed, unfortunately, right at reopening. So here in DC, like I said, many restaurants had to board up again. Many businesses boarded up again, even though they were allowed to open. It's almost a double whammy. And now it's even worse because you see there's no end in sight to this either. And when the rioters go home, we don't even, what shutdowns are we still doing? And why would we do any shutdowns? Because Kelly, this is a great question. As we know, George Floyd had a huge funeral. Everyone is very upset. Why were George Floyd's family allowed to have a large funeral when many, many hundreds, maybe thousands of people were prevented from having a funeral for their loved one because of these shutdowns, because you weren't allowed more than 10 people. So it's utterly ridiculous. And we see the Democrats now, of course, it's almost like they can't help themselves. They cannot help themselves in their folly. And their folly right now is, after all of this they've told us about the virus, after all of this they told us about the whole thing, after all of it, what the hell? Why are there hundreds of thousands of people down there? Why are there all these individuals running around right next to each other, thousands of individuals, not social distancing, not 6 feet? It clearly at least 6 feet is stupid. Okay. What we know from the virus is clearly 6 feet is stupid. There's no point You can't tell anybody to be 6 feet apart or more because no one is 6 feet apart. That's not happening. It hasn't been happening. No one is doing it down at the protest. They're not even pretending to do it. They're not even pretending to do it. That's totally out of the minds. 6 feet, gone. I don't know why we're still standing on spots in the store, because there's no reason, because we are not standing 6 feet apart in the street. Not doing it. So are people even wearing masks? Some, many. It's almost like it's a symbol that you're compliant. In fact, if you're not wearing a mask, sometimes the Antifa scouts will come and eyeball you. They will come and sort of take a look and see, it's kind of a red flag for them. If you're not wearing a mask, it's a red flag. So it's interesting, but not everybody's wearing a mask as well. There's certainly not everybody wearing a mask. So you see that. You see both of those things going on. You also see just every manner of normalcy, other than the fact that they're very angry, racist people who want to be upset at white people. But, we don't need to have these gathering limits anymore. And it's funny because there's a county in California that actually suggested that if you have an outdoor social gathering, it needs to be, 20 people or 10 people or 15 people or something. And, but if you have a protest, then it can be 100 people. Why, if I'm outside angry, is one thing plus the other thing? Why is the other thing not, like, if I'm angry, why does that get rid of the virus? If I'm just having hanging out with my friends at the park, and we're maybe eating sandwiches, why is that different from I'm at the protest and I'm drinking water and I'm having snacks and there was still food and everything at the protest. People sharing sunscreen, just like things that if you were really paranoid about everybody sharing germs, you wouldn't do. And yet, there they were, doing all those things. So people are asking a lot of questions. The same thing with the funeral. People are asking a lot of questions. Why are those folks allowed to do that, allowed to gather, and we're not? And so we're going to see, as the violence ends, as the protests go home, when they go home, hopefully they have to go home eventually. They can't live here. They run out of their stash of Hot Pockets or something. So I'm sure they'll have to go home for that. So when that happens, we're still going to have the question, are we open? Are we not open? What part of open? And we're going to be pushing back extremely hard here in DC. In fact, I've set up, Reopen America PAC has set up a separate GoFundMe. We're raising funds to actually rent out a billboard that says if they can riot, if protesters can riot, businesses can reopen. And reopen DC now. We're going to call on the mayor to resign for all of the things that she's done to the city. She won't, but we're going to call on it. And so we're raising the funds to do that. You can go to my page and look for that GoFundMe and certainly throw 10, 15, 20 bucks. We only need $3,500 to do the whole week, a whole week. So with that, if we get 100 people to pitch in 35 bucks, bada bing, bada boom, before you know it, we've got the whole thing. We've already got some people who've contributed both online and offline. So I'm excited that that's getting started, and we're going to see what happens. Hopefully I can raise some money, and we can, even if we only raise part of it, we can do it for a few days. So we're going to see how that goes, and I'm excited to find out how that goes. And so we'll see. We'll continue to raise funds. Now, let me tell you what's going forward. Okay, let me finish telling you what's happened already. So with all of this violence, with all of the damage, of the looting, all of the vandalism, the attacking of police, 60 police officers injured, the mayor of DC has been nothing but evil to the men and women who are taking care of her city. And in fact, this morning she kicked out, might have been actually yesterday morning, she kicked out it must have been this morning. It's kind of it's all happening so fast because she did something else crazy today too. She kicked out 1,200 guardsmen from their hotels, and this is now, Pamela. This she can't do. I want to explain to everybody what she can do. Pamela says she said she's going to open the White House to protesters. She has no authority over parkland. Okay, the White House, the National Mall, the monuments are federal property. She has no authority over that property, has it gone, Victor? And so she can make no decisions about that. However, the streets around federal property are her decisions. Now, under the current situation, she is not really able to make a lot of law enforcement decisions, and that's why she's throwing a temper tantrum, because President Trump has actually superseded her with the Secretary of the Army, as we've talked about it. And what we are seeing is the president basically in control and coordinating through the Secretary of the Army and through his administration, the disbursement and utilization and strategy of deployment for the guardsmen, for law enforcement in general, who are coordinating with the police, and police are coordinating with them. More like the police are coordinating with them, so that there's a seamless activity, and we can keep using intel that's, that the president has, that the federal government has, to keep the city safe. Now, the mayor, she has no way to really adjust that, and she's very upset. So all she can do is cry that the city, we need to send all these soldiers home. It's bad. You're hurting the people with the helicopter over them. You're not really hurting them. You're just blowing air on them, but you scared the people. There was tear gas. No, it wasn't tear gas. It was smoke bombs. This panic, this leftist panic, we've heard from the people. Now we hear it from the mayor. So in order to basically try to facilitate that, to push that issue for no reason, because clearly what's going to happen is these individuals are going to be found quarters. And I was down at the protest a little bit yelling, so yeah, my throat is still recovering from that. This hour of talking is starting to wear on me, but without it, especially without something to drink. Usually I have a glass of water. So she is literally engaged in trying to do whatever she can to get back at the president. The only way she could do that now is to kick these 1,200 guardsmen out of their hotel. What she did was basically say that, there are several rooms, which I didn't even know, and this concerns me. There were several rooms across the city with hotels that were reserved for COVID patients. Really? Did you tell people you were going to put COVID patients in those hotels? Okay. So she had reserved those rooms for the COVID patients. Now, the guardsmen were staying in those rooms because they were reserved for the COVID patients. Nobody was using them. They were staying in those rooms. The city was paying for those rooms. She decided no longer to hold those reservations. She needed to be able to use those reservations for the COVID patients. There are no COVID patients. The sickness rate is going down. So the guardsmen got off at 6 a.m., 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock. They were going to go back to their room, sleep, and then do another shift that night at 6 p.m. She refused to pay the room, so that when they got back to the hotel at 6 or 7 o'clock, they were informed that they would need to check out at 11 a.m., giving them only a few hours sleep, if any, before they had to check out of their rooms. And then later that day, go on their mission, go on their duty, their particular service to the city that just kicked them out of their rooms. Can you imagine? So she basically just put all these soldiers out of a night's sleep and made sure that they're not well rested and put them more at risk and caused them grief and harm, all to get back at the president. It was totally unnecessary. She could have easily said to the president, look, the city doesn't want to foot this bill anymore. Can you guys cover it? Not a problem. She could have handled it any other way. She handled it in a way that cost the entire 1,200 troops a night's sleep. Cruel. Very cruel woman. Now, while she is in the process of causing the troops that are actually here defending her city from vandals, looters, graffiti artists, she is actually the graffiti artist in chief. Mayor Muriel Bowser today renamed the street, 16th Street, that goes down to the White House. Okay, Lafayette Park ends at 8th Street. There's Lafayette Park on the other side of 8th Street, 16th Street going north. She named that street Black Lives Matter Plaza and painted Black Lives Matter on the ground, on the street, all 4 lanes, the 2 traveling lanes and the 2 parking lanes. Full side black. It looks hideous. Yellow letters, big yellow letters, Black Lives Matter, 2 blocks long. Yeah. I mean, you can probably read it from every plane flying into Reagan Airport. It's how big it is. It is ginormous. Now, here's the funny part. Black Lives Matter DC, they're not happy with it. Yeah, they literally are not happy with it. They think Muriel Bowser is doing it for a stunt to appease the white people. That's what they literally said. They don't think that she's on their mission because she doesn't want to abolish the police. That's what they said. That's what they said. Marita, if you could, the street sign, I actually would love to keep that sign. Yeah, it would be great, right? And I do collect street signs, but certainly we see a real problem. And you guys take a look at the pictures. We're going to show you. I'm sure I have some of the pictures on my page. People are going to be sharing it all over. So this is why we're going to be calling out the mayor of DC. She's gotten completely out of control. She is in a full-on fight with my president. I've told you she's in a full-on fight with the president about the 4th of July. We're trying to make sure people get here for the 4th of July because she is trying to push back. The Interior Department wants to do the fireworks. She wants to stop them. She's obviously willing to stop at nothing. And haven't helped us. Over the weekend, we're told there's going to be over a million protesters here, we're told. I think they're exaggerating. I'm quite confident they're exaggerating the numbers. But we're going to find out. We're going to find out because it's tomorrow. And it'll be tomorrow. And we'll see. It'll be the weekend. They're supposed to be here. So we'll be downtown as well on Sunday for our Reopen America rally to talk about these issues. We're going to be talking about the issue of if they can riot, we can reopen. We're going to be talking about the money that's being spent to paint on the ground when we've got graffiti on the walls. We've got businesses that can't open because you didn't secure the businesses. They've got damage now that they're going to have to pay for on top of the losses that you've already done to them from the shutdowns. We're going to talk about church and how desperately we need church. We need church right now. People need to go back to church and get some Jesus because they're burning stuff down and they believe in communist crap. It's out of control. Army vet girl, I'm here. This is a good question. Where are the Utah National Guard going to stay now? And it's not just the new Utah National Guard. It's 1,200 National Guard from several states. Okay, from several states, not just Utah. Mike Lee is from Utah, and that's why he's focused on that. But it is several states. I'm sure they will find facilities for them. We have ample military bases here in the city. We have ample hotel facilities which can take them up. I'm sure they had to scramble and have their folks, try to take care of it. And that's what's unfortunate. What's unfortunate is that rather than let these folks do their job and get a night's rest, they lost a night's rest. And, their officials had to, their supervisors, their assistants, the secretaries that were running their travel, running those accommodations for them, had to find new accommodations. So now you're just creating more work for them while they're busy here protecting the city, which was totally unnecessary and absolutely based on cruelty and nothing more. So now what I'm going to say is that will we see violence this weekend? I don't know. It's hard to say. It's hard to put that many people in the city without seeing a level of of continued violence, certainly since we've already seen the violence now. But we're not going to see anything happen at. Will we see stuff happen around the White House? Yes, but at the White House, no. They've got that lockdown as solid as it could possibly be. And certainly continue to have that lockdown particularly solidly. So I feel no concern about the White House whatsoever itself. I feel no concern. Obviously, what you do, we will have to continue to watch and be careful for Antifa continuing additional violence, for Antifa continuing to spread that violence out and get into little. All right, Marita, good to see you. So we'll just have to wait and see what happens. I think it behooves the movement to not be overly violent at this juncture, because we've been in a situation where they've already said, oh, but you guys are so violent, and it was demeaning and undermining the protests themselves. And so now we're in a situation where if you that's awesome. If you continue that violence, no one's going to listen to your mission at all. So they have to balance a little bit. The last 2 days here in DC have shown some of that. The protests have been more peaceful. They're trying to fake it. Oh, it's peaceful. It's peaceful. And it's literally like when you see a kid who was like writing on the wall, and then they put their hands in, and then you're like, were you writing on the wall? And they're like, oh, I'm not writing on the wall, but I can see the writing on the wall. And frankly, it's literally like that because they literally painted on the damn walls. They literally did that. And you're like, but you were violent and you damaged property. Well, no, nobody's been violent. Today, when we walked in, and I'm going to finish on this note, because when we walked into the group, they're protesting in front of the White House, and we walked up with Will Johnson and Ben Burkham, and we saw the there they were. Everybody was all lying down on the ground, and they stood back up, and they stood back up, and we got a chance. We're engaged in this whole situation, which was very curious. But you see this sentiment in these folks change entirely. It changes entirely when they don't agree with you, and there's such a level of groupthink, and there's certainly a level of tolerance of the violence. They continue to say, well, a sad quote from Martin Luther King, which totally undermines everything he had to say, that a riot is the voice of an unheard people. But he didn't advocate for riots. He didn't advocate for that kind of violence. He advocated for peaceful protest. He advocated for a redressing of grievances in peaceful ways, but certainly not in ways that involve violence and involve property damage, involve hurting people. So we're there talking with the woman. It's a very funny situation. And she's like trying to do that thing where, we're not anti-Trump, even though we were just chanting fuck Trump like 2 minutes ago, excuse my language, but that's what they were saying. And so, but it's not about Trump. It's not about politics. And she's like, and I go, well, ma'am, it says F Trump, like everywhere. And she's like, you don't want a piece of this. She got just mad at me. She could only attack because she couldn't deny the truth. That in fact, the left has made it. The left has made it about Trump. And that was so much. Thank you, Nick. And I will tell him you said that. That was so, it was moving. It was moving to be there. It was moving to hear after the fact. Actually, I was glad I got to, be in the moment, but also see it on video, because to have a differing opinion like that, to voice that, to go into that group and to voice that difference in such a focus of groupthink, in such a place where they are so brainwashed and so controlled, literally the den of lions, where they are so controlled by their hunger, for this mindset, this anger mindset, and to come in with a different mindset and to speak truth and to speak it calmly and to speak it casually and to engage in conversation with people who don't like you and don't want you to be there certainly shows you what we're fighting about. And what we're fighting is indoctrination. We're fighting an indoctrinated mindset. And that's why we go to the protests. That's why we talk to people. That's why I do these shows. That's why we write. That's why we rent billboards. That's why we do any of this activism. That's why Will speaks his mind. That's why we make those videos. Because when we can see difference, when we can see other people being brave and expressing their different mind, expressing their different ideas, and being okay with that, being a real citizen, that example is set for others. And with that, we are capable of getting our civil world back. We have to be the citizens we want society to be. We have to be the citizens we want to see in society. We have to be the people that we want to select the government that keeps us free. We have to be those people. We always say, well, voters got to pick. You're the voters. That's you. They say somebody's got to do something. You're the somebody. You're the somebody. They say, oh, well, if only we had, this person, we could talk to the senators. You can talk to your senators. You can talk to your congressman. You can make those phone calls. If only somebody told the governor this, well, you can tell him that. Write a letter. Will it get through immediately? Will it go right to the person? Is he going to call you back? Maybe, maybe not. I don't know your governor. Some not. That's the case. It's very empowering though to try. And that's what we're going to continue to do. We're going to continue to speak. My mouth does not want to talk. It's because I don't have any water. And so my mouth is very dry and it keeps making me mix my words. We will continue to speak truth to power. And we're going to do that over this weekend. It's going to be interesting to see because we're going to have a lot of people in town and we're going to be down talking about what we want, which is to reopen the city. And certainly if we can have 1 million people in DC, we can reopen. So I hope you'll tune into that. I hope you keep an eye on me. I hope you'll continue to keep me in your prayers. I hope you will go to my page, donate a little money to my GoFundMe so that we can send a message to Muriel Bowser that she should resign for the damaging of property, for the cruelty to police. 60 officers were injured because of her lack of authority, the curfews that weren't obeyed, the shutdown orders that are obviously being ignored by crowds because she agrees with those crowds, the defacement of the city streets, and of course, the misappropriation of city funds for a political agenda that has nothing to do with the benefit of the city. Nothing to do with the benefits of the city. So, not to mention what we're seeing, the lack of gratitude, the vast lack of gratitude, not only to the troops that she kicked out of the hotel, but to the president who has done a great deal to try to protect the city. Also to the businesses who have endured additional shutdowns because of her bad policies. Additional shutdowns because of these policies. So we're going to keep talking about it, and we're going to talk about it on Sunday. I hope you all have a wonderful weekend. Do keep checking in on the live. Let me see if I can, if you go to my page, let me see if I can actually share it. Let me see. Hold on. I'm going to pop over to Facebook. Everybody, just hold on real quick. I'm going to see if I can grab this GoFundMe link. I'm going to see if I can grab this link. No one. Why is there always something? No, I don't want any of this. It's making me. Oh, the new Facebook gets cleaner. I don't want it to be cleaner. I just want to go to my page so I can find the link. Oh, this is awful. Okay. It's right up here. Let's just see. That's Will. Great video. Great. So we are going to copy this link. Copy this link this way, probably. Great. Copy it and put that right in the comments. We're doing it. There we go. It should be doing it. There it is. Yay. That is the link. If you click on that, that should get you to the GoFundMe. It's called Tell DC Mayor to Resign Now on a Mobile Billboard. And I'll be putting that, of course, on my page as well. The link is there in the comments. And yes, and Chris also has the other version of the link, which is great. Great. Teamwork makes the dream work. All right, so thank you guys very much for tuning in. Thank you for contributing to the fund. Thank you for all of the help that you have been doing for this reopen movement. More to come, you guys, more to come. We're certainly going to get through these very difficult times. DC is safe, but there's a lot of things going on that we're going to have to work hard to watch out for. So thank you guys for tuning in. I will keep you informed over the weekend as we're going forward. So keep an eye on my page. And until then, you guys have a wonderful night. This is your girl, Suzzanne Monk. Trumping out.